We have the van all loaded up with the clothes right now. We have the racks that we'll be using at the pop-up, and most of the clothes that we'll be using at the pop-up are in here as well, and they're all on the racks. I am just now for the prep work for today, going through all of the clothes, and I'm going to organize the clothes, put them in the proper place, style the racks and get everything ready, get all the items tagged, make sure we're not missing any sizes, and get all of that work done today for the prepping of the pop-up this Saturday. Here is inside the van. Like I said, we have the 2 main racks, which are right here. These will be inside the pop-up tent, and they are filled with the clothes, and I will go through all of the clothes today, get them set up, prepped, ready, organized, all of that. And then here is the tiny white rack that will be more of a display outside the tent to kind of give people a peek at what we have and some of our spring and summer looks that will be kind of featured. We'll put on, this is like our feature rack. And I gotta move all of these clothes onto this rack and go through all of the clothes. Like I said, they all need to make sure they're tagged and labeled and all the sizes are there, and put them in the right place. These are the graphic t-shirts that I need to fold up to get ready to put on the table. And so I definitely have my hands full today. Got a lot of work to do. So I will go ahead and start working on that now. Here is my little prep table. I'm seriously standing inside our van to get this ready. So I have the stuff to get the clothes tagged, labeled, all of the works. Some of the items are missing, like here's one of the sizes that we're missing is right here. So I gotta get that out of the bag and on a hanger. And that is what I'll be working on today. Let's get these clothing racks prepped and ready. Pop-up day, here we go. I do not have time to talk. We're in a hurry. Let's do this thing. It is officially pop-up day and I'm in a hurry and I don't have much time to talk, so let's get going. Hi friends, good morning. It is officially pop-up day. It is Saturday, March 27th. It is 7:45 in the morning. We are supposed to start setup at 8, and so I just got to the location. It's going to be here at Blown Away Salon in Yorktown, Virginia, and I'm going to wait a few minutes before I walk up to start getting ready to set up, and I'll show you guys the setup process and a little peek at how the pop-up goes today. in my office, and before I finished out this pop-up video, I wanted to say first, thank you so much to everyone who came out to our very first pop-up, who came and supported and was just there to show up and say hi and to love on our business, The Mint Sweater. I really appreciated being able to have friends and family come out and see me and see my business in person for the first time, and to just be so loved and supported from everybody. I absolutely had an amazing time at the pop-up. It went way better than I ever could have expected, and that really made me really happy. And I just loved being able to see and meet new people and see what they think of the business and see what they think of the clothes and everything I've poured my heart into, and to see how much everybody enjoyed it, and how much everybody enjoyed the clothes and how happy they loved seeing them and trying them on, and having some people actually walk away with something was just really amazing, and I really appreciated the opportunity. And I loved being able to host my very first pop-up and to finally interact with people like one-on-one and have them shop with us in person. It was an experience that I really enjoyed, and so I'm glad I got to do that pop-up. I am now back in my office, and I've been reviewing the pop-up and going over all of the numbers and things like that we do in the business to see how well it went, what pieces did best, which ones didn't maybe do as well, and just to kind of overview to learn what went well and what didn't, to prepare for our next pop-up, which is actually coming up this Saturday. Our next pop-up is actually this Saturday, and I'm hoping to film some behind the scenes clips, and if I do get to, I will definitely include those in here in this video as well, so you can kind of see our second pop-up and see behind the scenes of how different they are from the first one. I did kind of want to share a little bit about the first pop-up. I didn't really get to film as much of my process as I wanted to from start to finish on hosting my first pop-up. So I know there was kind of some clips of, you know, us setting up and seeing what it actually looks like all finished when we were at the actual pop-up and what our booth looked like. But the beginning process of like how I got it set up and how I planned for it and everything, I didn't get to show as much as I wanted to. And I just wanted to share a little bit about my process, and since I'm doing another pop-up coming up soon, it's still fresh in my mind to share with you guys, and how I'm adjusting from one pop-up to the next. There is so many different things that you have to take into consideration, and I thought I'd share a little bit about that with you guys. For every pop-up, I've learned the first thing to do is obviously you want to work with other businesses and reach out to them and collaborate with them to get permission and confirm that you are going to be hosting a pop-up at their event or at their business, or whichever. Like if someone's having an event and they're looking for vendors, you just want to reach out, apply as a vendor, and sometimes there's a vendor fee, and you reach out to them, and if they confirm and you confirm and you're all set to go, you will be at that event, you paid your vendor fees, you've signed any contracts that need to be signed, you are going to be officially confirmed at that event. Once I get that confirmation, then I go into planning mode. Depending on what the pop-up is going to be and the event and the location and how much space we have, we do have a tent now. I purchased it for the pop-up, which is a 10 by 10 tent. So depending on how much size you have, you might not be able to use a tent. If it's indoors, you might have to only have a table and one clothing rack. Or, you know, if you can use the full tent, I can bring everything as much as I need that fits in that tent. And the layout I've already kind of designed and worked with or planned in my head. So once you are confirmed for a spot at an event and you have the size and you have an idea of like the space you're going to have, or how much space or how little space you're going to have. For us, we knew we were going to have the 10 by 10 tent. I then planned out how I was going to lay out the tent. And that kind of gave me an idea, like I have 2 clothing racks. I can fit both of those clothing racks in that booth, and so I'm going to bring 2 clothing racks, and that means I get to fill those 2 clothing racks with clothes. And therefore my next step was to determine which clothes I wanted to bring to the event with me on those clothing racks. After knowing I was going to have a tent in my space and planning out the layout of the booth, I did go out and I picked out which clothes I wanted to bring on each rack. So I grabbed all the clothes, I put them on the rack, and I styled them, and I decided which clothes I wanted to bring, which ones I didn't want. So I played with the clothes on the racks. I decided this one, not this one, I do want to bring this, and then I organized them to look aesthetically pleasing on the eye on the rack. So I organized the colors and like the dresses and the forms and everything just right so that I was happy with it. And I did bring one contemporary size clothing rack, which is sizes extra small to extra large depending on the items, and then the second rack was our plus size collection, so everything that was in our plus sizes from 1X to 3X was on a different rack. After I planned out what clothes I was going to bring on the racks and I styled the racks, I used covers on the clothes to make sure the clothes are protected and nothing happens to them in transportation, and so they are cleaned and protected. And so I covered all the clothes and I put them in our van for transportation. A few things I also brought along with me were the bins that contain like our coffee mugs, our prints, prints and our graphic t-shirts which are our exclusive items that we carry here in our boutique. And so I did package up all of our other items that we were bringing with us, like the coffee mugs and the prints. I also brought a bin of packaging material, so if someone made a purchase, I would put like a bag and tissue paper and I'd wrap up the clothes. And I did bring our promo cards, so if we had business cards, or we do put cards in our packages when someone orders online, so I also did the same thing for when they purchase in person, which is just to say thank you and to give them like a little love when they make a purchase. So we put those cards in their bags. And so I brought all the promo cards, like I said, business cards, anything like that. I brought all of that with me. We do actually have a pop-up dressing room that I've used for photo shoots, but obviously this is a great opportunity to bring that too if we have the space, and luckily at this one we did have the space. So I was able to bring the pop-up dressing room, and I did bring that. At this next upcoming pop-up, I won't actually be able to bring the dressing room. I'll have it in the van just in case, but I really don't think we're gonna have the space for it, so I won't be able to use that. And sometimes you will and sometimes you won't, but it's always good to have on hand, because if you do have the space and you can, I think it's great. If people do wanna try something on, they have the opportunity that you have a pop-up dressing room. I also brought a mirror, since I am a clothing boutique. Even if someone just kind of wants to lay it up against them and not try it on, they do want to see what it looks like with their face or their shape or anything like that. If they want to see if a clothing item looks good on them, I did bring a mirror for them to be able to do that. And along with the clothing racks with the clothes, the products that we carry, the mirror in the dressing room, I also, just for COVID reasons, brought a little tray where I put, like, you know, hand sanitizer, a little sign that says, you know, please wear a mask. I also just went ahead and tried to do any little details of touches I could to the pop-up booth. So, you know, anything that represented our brand that was cute and I thought would be great to include in little touches, I included that, which you will see in the previous clips of all the little details I put into the pop-up to make it just represent our brand beautifully and to make other people fall in love with the booth and its display and how it looks. So before the pop-up, I went into planning all of that, and then I packaged it all up, got it all prepared, and put it into the van for transportation. And we also did a test run with the pop-up tent to make sure we knew how it worked and everything before we showed up. We weren't going to be struggling or falling behind because we weren't sure how everything was going to lay out or how it was going to work. So we did do one test run. And then the day of the pop-up, I arrived early during the setup time, and we set up the tent, we set up the clothing racks, we set up the booth, and as you see, like, I can show you kind of like the parking lot in the video and then the tent, and then you'll see like the final reveal of everything, how it looked in the pop-up tent. And I think it turned out really great, and I was really happy with it, and I loved doing the pop-up so much. I just can't wait to do more, and I really hope I find some opportunities to continue doing pop-ups because they were just so much fun and I had so much joy doing it. I do have another one, but this one is going to be an indoor one, and the next few I have set up are likely going to be more indoor ones, and therefore we won't have the whole tent to use, and indoors you have less space, so sometimes I'll be able to bring one clothing rack instead of two. This time the previous pop-up I did bring 3 racks. One was kind of like our new arrivals or like a featured rack, so you can kind of get a good idea of what our vibe is before you even walk into the tent. But I won't be able to bring that to like the indoor ones. Like, it'll either be 1 or 2 racks. So each pop-up you will have to play around with the layout and which items or how many items you can bring to your pop-up. But I think it is still a lot of fun to be able to be creative and to kind of decide how you want to represent your brand in the layout and the display of it. And each time it will change, and especially items that I want to bring, I switch them out. I've decided to switch those items out every time I do a different pop-up. So each pop-up I'll be bringing new items. And the other thing I try to take into consideration is the pop-up, if it's going to be at an event or if it's going to be at a business, what is their typical clientele? I try to think about who is their typical customer or client, so that way I can cater the clothes to match a little bit more of their style if they have a specific style as well. Like this upcoming pop-up event, they have a theme for their event, which is spring refresh. So they want to do a very spring wardrobe, you know, get a refresh on your wardrobe and have fun with spring kind of aesthetic for their event. So I did specifically style the racks for a spring refresh wardrobe style, and that is what I do, is I cater the event to see like who's going to be there and maybe what their style is, and I'll bring clothes that suit their, like, that aesthetic more and switch out the clothes per pop-up so that there's always something different going on. Finally, after the pop-up, obviously we take everything down, we reload it up into the van, we transport it back to my place, and obviously I unload it, and then I do go through our inventory system to see what did sell, what didn't sell, review the numbers and the statistics just to kind of get an idea of like how we did it go well. This most previous pop-up we did really well, and so I was really happy with that, and I definitely hope we can continue that into our next pop-up as well. The other thing to do is just kind of review your pop-up and what went well and what didn't. Like for me, I didn't really have a big packaging station, so when someone purchased an item, I was really struggling to get their items packaged in the bag and check them out and give them like good customer service at the same time, because I just didn't really have a lot of space. So I can make that mental note next time. I want to make sure I have a clean and more spacious area for me to do my checkout process so that goes more smoothly. We did use a Shopify POS system because I do run my shop on Shopify, and the system definitely gets overheated in the sun if you are outdoors. Luckily this next one will be indoors, and so we shouldn't have this problem, but sometimes your reader will fall asleep and you're like having to wake it up, or sometimes like if your system's been in the heat, like in the sun, like what happened with us at the last one, it started to shut down because it was overheating and we just weren't in the shade at all. So it was something that you have to take into consideration, like, okay, how can we find shade? How can we create shade? How can we make sure that our system doesn't overheat and then shut down on us, and continuously make sure that your sleeper isn't falling asleep so that if someone does check out, they're not having to wait those few extra awkward seconds to be like, you know, while you're sitting there like tapping to wake up your system. It was just small details like that, like I said, that you want to do at the end of your pop-up to review, like how could you improve, how could you make it better, what kind of mistakes did you make, or if there were any mistakes, or was there anything that you struggled with, or anything that, you know, happened that you never could have predicted, but then you're like, okay, how can I make this better for next time? Things like that. We just like to look back and review and see how it went and what we can do better for next time. And we do have our next pop-up. Like I said, I will try and film some behind the scenes and insert those clips in here as well so you can see like both pop-ups. I know it'll be kind of a time difference, but at least then like it might be great in one video for you guys to see like the first pop-up, our second pop-up, and how different they are, because one will be outdoors, one will be indoors, and so the layout and everything will look entirely different, and the clothing racks will be different with different clothes and styled differently, and hopefully getting to see all of that will be great for you guys. And hopefully this little bit of information so you can get like a little behind the scenes insight into how putting on a pop-up or running a pop-up would work for us, or for me particularly in my business, and to get an idea of like everything that goes into it, you know, planning, styling, curating, thinking ahead of like what you want to do, what you want to include, and then packaging it all up. You know, you're basically moving shop is what you're doing. So you have to package it all up, make sure it can make it through transportation, unload, set it up, everything like that. So I will try and show a little bit more of my process in the future videos if I can. But if you have any questions about my pop-up, or if you are interested in hosting your own pop-ups and you're just wondering about my process or how it works or anything like that, I'd love to connect with you guys. You guys know I say this in every video. You can always reach out to me on Instagram at MidSweaterGirl. You can also comment below and just, you know, reach out. I'm always here. I'd love to talk and connect with other entrepreneurs. Or if you're just curious at all, I just love making new friends. And so if you have any questions, or if you just wanting to see or learn more about like my business or the pop-up, feel free to ask. I'm always here. I hope you guys enjoyed being able to see my first pop-up and come along with me as I go through the whole thing and figure out how to put on a pop-up. And it went really well, and I'm really happy with it, and I'm so glad you guys were able to come along with me and see it and witness it yourself. Thank you as always so much for watching. I really hope you guys did enjoy this video, and I will see you guys in my next one.